same at the creation time. So that's another feature that various users have asked for. So on existing files, we have a new option, and this is similar to Positive Pay as well. It's this Details button. Let's click that and see what that does for us. There are a couple of things that are of interest. One is document details. And what this shows is actually, for those batches you've selected for this file, it shows the actual SL documents within it, the checks and the associated vouchers. So we get a complete drill down into what the batches are that are in that file and what the contents of those batches are. In addition, if the file has already been sent, we actually have a copy of what you can look up and reference the ACH file itself. And so since we're now storing that information in that file record, we can go and retrieve the particular ACH file itself. If we had done pre-notes on this batch, we could look in that grid and see the folks that were pre-noted as well. So these are the new options related to document details, and that pretty well covers what's in the new Create and Send screen. Let's go take a look at the customizable email feature. This feature can be set at the system level, and it's possible also to customize emails down to the vendor level. So you can take all of your emails and have a new format because you didn't quite, the format that came out of the box wasn't the way you wanted. Or you can have groups of folks that have that format, and then other vendors might have a particular format. So this is set on the email tab. There's an option called Use Custom Messages or Attachments. So if we drill down here, this is where we set that information. So we can pull it from the setup screen so that it's common across from a common format that you've set up, or you can make this individual. In addition to customizing the message, what you can do is take the remittance information and put it in an attachment. You can set it so that based on the number of documents, number of remittance documents that there would be, that an attachment is created. So if it's, say, more than 10, then let's create an attachment. If it's less than 10, let's leave it in the email. There are a number of setup options here. Also, another nice new feature is that you can actually create a sample of the email when you're looking that up. So if I take an existing batch and I'm going to create a sample of what this setup would look like, so I hit Create. Actually, that created the format. In this case, this was creating an attachment, and it was an Excel spreadsheet. So in this case, the Excel spreadsheet pops up with the actual remittance information. Again, all of this is how it is displayed, and what is displayed is completely customizable. And then also, this was the body of the email itself. So this is what would appear in the email body, and it's referencing the particular attachment. So there's a lot of new flexibility here with the emails, and I think that should meet just about everyone's requirement. One other thing is we did add an additional email address. So now that not only do you have the one related to the vendor from vendor maintenance, but you have 3 additional emails as well. Okay, and the last couple of pieces to talk about with eBanking have to do with the new security features. And in order to turn those on, it's an eBanking setup. And this would be done by your administrator. This is set here, and then there are some other options available within this screen to configure it as well. So the first area I'm going to look at is account approval. Account approval comes into play when you're concerned that you want to make sure that no one tampers with the account numbers that are related to a particular vendor. So you may have an individual that does this kind of maintenance, and then they may be the same person that transmits or is involved with transmitting files to the bank, and you wouldn't want them to come in here and modify this particular number. So when account approval is turned on, we have statuses of who's approved, whether this is approved, and who was last changed by, and who was it approved by. The way this works is that there have to be 2, if you turn it on, there are 2 individuals. One person will make the change, and then a different person has to come into this screen to approve it. So if I came into this screen and changed this number, this last digit to the number to 5, it's because we have pre-notes, it's going to do that as well, but you see this now says pending approval. Once the account approval is set to pending, then if you were trying to transmit to the bank for this vendor, it would go to the error log and you could not do it because the account is still has not been approved. So another individual comes into this screen and then changes this status to approved, and then it can continue. That's how account approval works. Amount approval is managed through the Create and Send Files screen. And what this has to do with is making sure that if in a batch that you're to send to the bank, that there might be a check within that batch that's of a large dollar amount, and you want to make sure that there's additional people sign off on that, having that check being sent electronically. This is very similar to having two people sign a computer check, depending on the dollar amount of that check. And so in this particular case, we've got a very large file here. If I go into details, let's take a look and see what that has. What that is one check at a very large dollar amount. And so what I'm going to go back is pretend I wanted to go and send that to the bank. If I check that off to send it, because I have my amount approval turned on, it says has not been completed for the batch, and that there's one at level 1 requires one approver, and level 2 requires two approvers. So we have multiple levels of approval. You could have a certain dollar amount, $10,000, say, for level 1, and say $50,000 for level 2. And so how would this be changed? How would we be able to send this file to the bank? You highlight it here, go into details, and go into the amount approval screen. And at this point, level 1 and level 2, in this case, we've got one approver required for anything over $90, and we have two approvers required for anything over $50,000. So those users would come in and look up the different approvers. Right now I don't have anyone set up at level 2, but they would have to enter their user and password. Once that's been entered, then another person, a clerk, could come back and now select this file to send to the bank. So you have a lot of flexibility. You can make it as little as one approver, or you can have up to 5 approvers at 2 different levels. That pretty much wraps up the new changes for APFT. There's a lot there and a lot of new things. And again, most of these options are available to be turned on or off. And as you get your product, if you upgrade, they'll be turned off, so you can progress as you have. But if you like some of these new features, you can turn them on for your own benefit. Wire Transfer Plus. This is the newest module to the eBanking suite, and actually it came out in a version 7 that some of you may have picked up. It's now fully incorporated into version 8, and that's the currently shipping version. This module is designed to handle anything that is not US ACH. We've changed a little bit. APFT and AREFT are strictly for US ACH transactions, and now Wire Transfer Plus is for any bank and or format that's other than that. So that would include the Canadian banks that we previously had available under APFT. Typically it's used for foreign or domestic wires. So whether it's a U.S. bank or a foreign bank, both foreign or domestic wires out of those banks, and it can handle both U.S. banks and or banks from any country. So we have a number of implementations that are dealing strictly with banks abroad. The formats for any bank for wire transfer, unfortunately, there's not a standard. So like Positive Pay, each bank and the systems within those banks require a particular format. So please contact us or look on our website to check to make sure that if you're investigating this for a particular bank, that your bank is included in our format list. If not, please contact us and we'll be glad to work out a quote in terms of what it would take to put your bank's format into the Wire Transfer Plus module. The processing and features are virtually identical to APFT, so please review that portion of this video that was just done. Both the account and amount approvals, the customizable emails, all of those features are available for Wire Transfer Plus. So let's go over into SL and take a look at some of the highlights there. First, I'm going to jump over to the file formats area. Your eBanking administrator generally goes into this area. And you'll notice here that these format types under EFT and wire include the US ACH again for only with APFT. All the others are considered wire plus formats. So in this environment, I'm actually have an implementation where we're sending US ACH files along with Canadian Toronto Dominion and JP Morgan Chase through their access system. Any number of formats, I believe the limit is 8, could be selected within any implementation. Let's take a look at vendor banking entry and how this might differ from APFT. I'm going to pull up a vendor, in this case, that has been coded with a format by US Chase Access. Each vendor can have one format associated with it. And now there are ways such that someone has a Chase Access format. Not only they can do a wire through Chase Access, but they also could do an ACH through Chase Access. What you'll notice when that different format comes up, the screen configures itself a little bit differently. We not only have the ACH information here, but we also have wire account information, where there might be a SWIFT code involved, an account number, and that kind of thing. Also, we have these wire transfer tabs. With a wire, there can be a lot more information required. Beneficiary address information, beneficiary bank information. There might be intermediary bank, credit party, and then other banking instructions. So when you implement Wire Transfer Plus, depending on the format, there may be a lot of other data entry required. And again, all of this, the way this is presented, is basically reconfigured depending on what format you choose. Other than that, it's very much the same. The transaction type feature is identical. In this case, this Chase Access has these different transaction types that have been turned on: book transfer, Fed wire, local currency wire. And this individual can select any of those formats, including an SL check. And again, the option, this does not allow them to change it in voucher entry, and their default is Fed wire. So this is